My name is Jen. I'm an AV professional and have a handful of invisible diversities myself, ranging from ADHD, depression, and autism, to name a few. In today's episode, we're going to be chatting a little bit about depression. So I'm going to go through what some of the symptoms are and how it's diagnosed, and share some of my experiences and hope that you can make a little bit more sense about it and learn kind of what it is. The more that we talk about this stuff, the less stigma that will be associated, hopefully. So without further ado, let's dive into it. So there are different kinds of depression. There is a natural depression, which is not a clinical term. Essentially, it is experiences in life, such as loss of a loved one, in the grieving process. It could be financial hardships. There are many things that we encounter in our life that can cause depression, and it can be short-lived. Clinical depression, major depression to be specific, means that you meet a certain criteria for 2 weeks or more. And there are many who will go through therapy, maybe with assistance of medication like an antidepressant, and then they go into remission. Now, some people may have depression and never have an issue again. Very often, things like medication or therapy or a combination of the two can help that you never have a depressive episode again, but you might still need that medication to help. And very, very personal conversation that you need to have with your doctor on what is best for you. Let's look at what qualifies as major depression. So essentially, there are two things, as the DSM says, main criteria that must be met. First is depressed mood lasting at least 2 weeks or more. And then I always mispronounce this, anhedonia. Essentially, it is the loss of interest or pleasure in things that you once found pleasure or interest in. And that 2 weeks or more is, I think, one of the interesting things when you're looking at other mood disorders, because there's bipolar, which has manic and depressive phases. The differences in types of bipolar are essentially what that ebb and flow looks like. But depression is a very, very steady, depressed state. If you're just depressed and sad, that's human. But the difference is the amount of time. And are you staying in that state? If you are in that state one moment, and later in that day, you feel like you could take on the world and you're doing all this stuff, or it lasts a couple of days in that depressed state, and then you have some time of up, that may be more indicative of bipolar. So in my case, I will stay in that steady state, which I actually, for me personally, find it to be a blessing, because at least it's steady. I think that some of the challenges in borderline personality disorder and bipolar, those can all be ebbs and flows that are really, really, really challenging to understand. So much love to you folks. So we know what our main criteria is for depression, and we know the amount of time that we're expecting for that diagnosis to be complete. There are then secondary symptoms. And this is where it becomes a little bit more of a spectrum. And that is that you may experience some of these traits a little bit differently. So let's take a look. So somatic symptoms are things that you might feel in your body. So for example, sleep challenges. Do you have insomnia where you can't sleep, or are you sleeping too much? Like you are just always in bed, or you just always want to sleep, or you need to sleep more than normal, or you don't need as much sleep. There is then a change in appetite. Um, so this is an interesting one. With my autism myself, I have some challenges with signaling when I'm hungry, but in depression, I may get that signal and know I gotta eat something. I just don't want to. I don't want to get up. I don't want to put in the effort. I know that I have to. Meal prep is a big thing that can really, really help. For example, like, okay, Sunday we cook, and cook for the week. That way you don't have to worry about anything. Things like meal prep boxes, like Every Plate or Butcher Box, Hello Fresh, those can be really good because it takes a lot of the effort out of getting a meal together. So keeping on, let's look at next, which would be poor concentration. And following that would be fatigue. So because your brain is just not quite working right, and it's doing its own thing, and you're down, and you're not interested in the things you once were. um it can make it very difficult to focus on anything. I gotta get this done, but I'm just in this fog. So then the insomnia naturally is going to affect your sense of fatigue and your functioning. If you're not eating, it's going to cause fatigue. So a lot of this stuff on the body side is all very, very related. Um, and depending on which end of the spectrum you fall on, not only is that going to inform what kind of management techniques that you need to focus on or try, because it's all a journey. There's no one size fits all on any of these. So let's look at non-somatic, and this would be the more feeling side of things, less physical. And we've already talked about depressed mood, feeling sad, feeling down, feeling worthlessness, feeling guilt. And it also affects your sense of value. I strive every day in any of my invisible diversities to find a way to better manage, because I recognize that these are conditions that are neurological, which have effects. But even in my darkest times, I still know it's the depression speaking. There's so much to learn. There's so much to do. And I think part of why I do these videos sometimes is as an outlet to explain what the depression actually looks like and what some of these thoughts actually sound like. We all have depressive thoughts sometimes, and that's okay. And sometimes we have thoughts that are not okay, and that's why we have therapists. I will leave it there. I think I have babbled enough on a very depressing topic, but I would love to hear your thoughts in comments. Put them in the comments down below if there's any questions, or if you'd like to see another video on any of these topics. Put them down there as well. I appreciate you all for watching and would love if you would like and subscribe. With that being said, please be kind, be strong, and remember you're not alone. Thank you, and come again.